Hey guys, welcome to my corner of the internet, my cozy little corner. I've always wanted to do a podcast, and I'm excited because I want to push myself into being a little bit more free form when talking to you guys. Despite doing YouTube for actually quite a long time, it's been 8 years since I started YouTube. I haven't always been very consistent with it, but it's been 8 years since I started, and I generally like to have scripts and know exactly where I'm going and what I'm saying. And I try to be very careful when I'm editing to be, I don't know, just precise or as precise as I can be with the raw footage that I have of what I'm saying and what I'm putting out online. But I love to talk. I have a lot of opinions, and I'm using this as a way to kind of also talk about things that aren't always book or literature or writing advice or the publishing industry related, a little bit more maybe pop culture, maybe news, maybe political, maybe religious. Just gives me a lot more breathing room, I should say. So thank you for hanging out and for going on this journey together. As of right now, I think they're going to be possibly something I actually do way more often than my videos because, in theory, I don't have to present myself in a certain way. I can be a little less polished. But yeah, anyway, so let's get started with the thing that I think about a lot as of this week, and that is Taylor Swift's latest album, newest album, The Life of a Showgirl, TS12. I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say about people who have a lot to say about it. Let's start off with the groundwork, which is I am a Swifty, but I'm a relatively new Swifty. I really got pulled in with Folklore Evermore. So those were her 2020 indie albums. That was like one of the most pivotal albums of my life. You know, when you listen to some music and you're like, wow, I am just a different person after consuming this. Those were definitely albums for me where my life changed, and it actually did help solidify a course in my life. I was living in Columbus, Ohio at the time. Some of you longtime subscribers might remember me living out there. And I moved back to Des Moines, Iowa, which is where I still currently lived. I had no intentions of moving back. And obviously, there was the pandemic and the lockdown, and I had family here. I had a lot of friends that were coming back here. So that's what pulled me into, at the time, was a longer visit. But part of what kept me here, I remember listening to Folklore, and it was so peaceful. There's a sense of nature, a sense of almost childlike wonder. And it was the soundtrack to a time in my life where I felt like I was able to take a breath. You know, not that Columbus was by any means this horrible, difficult experience. I loved my time in Columbus, but I was a lot more isolated. And therefore, things were a little bit harder in a way where when I came back to Des Moines, I just felt like I could breathe. I could like really let out a sigh. And having that soundtrack along with the experiences, it just really solidified that this was a place I wanted to return to. And then I had that sort of revelatory experience again with the Tortured Poets department. But instead of it feeling like a sigh, it was more like a gut-wrenching sob. That was crazy. That was also an album just totally changed my life. Well, actually, I guess I'm not sure like changed, but it allowed for a lot of catharsis in a way that I was just struggling to find anywhere else. What's crazy, and my friends joke about it, there's this feeling that Taylor and I must talk to each other in the astral plane while I'm sleeping. Because otherwise, how did she get the information about my life? How did she write an album that mirrored my life so exactly? I had friends who, after Tortured Poets came out, they were like, you know, I don't see Maddie Healy or Joe. I hear, you know, the previous exes in your life because it just mirrored that so closely. Like the fact that I left like a pretty constraining relationship for an artsy drug addict who lived in Florida. Like it was shocking. So again, very cathartic for me. And it was because of my love for tortured poets that I discovered my favorite YouTube channel in the world and one of my favorite podcasts, The Swiftologist, and then the podcast is Evolution of a Snake with his co-host Madeline. And that is where I learned anything about Taylor Swift herself. These previous albums and even parts of Midnights I liked because I felt like mirrored my life or had something to do with my life, or I like the way the shit sounded. I don't listen to music if I don't like it. That is just a foreign concept to me, and I hope it is for most people, but sometimes I'm not so sure. Anyway, I didn't actually know that much about Taylor, and I wasn't super interested either, frankly. I'm not obsessed with celebrities in that way, so knowing more about her just didn't do much for me, but I loved the way the Swiftologist would present it. He is just so well-spoken and very funny and has such a breadth of history because he's been a Swiftie since, she was on MySpace 18 years ago. So just having all this knowledge and tidbits of information, it was just abundantly entertaining. If I didn't have him, I probably still wouldn't know anything about Taylor Swift. But now I know a lot about Taylor Swift because of him and Madeline's content. So Life of the Showgirl, I'm going into it with so much more knowledge about Taylor Swift's personal life than I've ever had before. And I also could tell from the visuals, which are stunning. I mean, the visuals, the photos that she was putting out of her in her little showgirl outfits, the best she's ever looked ever. She looks stunning. However, I did get the sense that it was going to be like more upbeat, probably more poppy. And that's like not my favorite vibe with her. I like when she's deeply lyrical and sad, and the topics, even if they have an upbeat tempo, are kind of troubling. That's my favorite form of Taylor Swift. So I just had a feeling like she just got engaged. She's clearly in love. She had one of the most successful musical tours of all time. I was like, you know what? I bet she'll be really happy, but I don't think this album's going to be for me. However, listen to it the second it dropped. I went to the movie on Friday night. I had such a blast. I dressed up for it and I had an amazing time. It was really cute. There was a lot of little kids there, and I was in a section just surrounded by little kids, and they told me that my outfit was amazing, and they kept getting up to dance in the middle of the showing, and everybody clapped in between songs. It was so much fun to be in a space with other fans where we're just there to have a good time, right? But yeah, the album dropped and I went, my instinct was right. This is not going to be my tortured poets. This is not going to be my folklore. I didn't really expect it to be. There's some fun bops that I'm going to throw on a playlist for when I get ready. I really, really, really like Ruin the Friendship. I think that's like a very solid T Swift song that is sweet and sentimental and gut-wrenching, especially at the end. And everything else I'm like, either so-so about and very good chance I won't listen to maybe ever again, or they're kind of fun, kind of boppy, like Fate of Ophelia, Elizabeth Taylor. Those are my main ones that I'm a big fan of. Sometimes Father Figure. Some people really like that one. I think it's kind of corny. I thought it was cool when I was trying to decipher which character she was. But then in the movie, which is the thing with seeing something like the movie, the album release movie, and getting her insight about each song, I don't always love that with an artist because, again, to me, I'm like discovering the insight myself. And I'm also trying to relate the song. I'm a lyrics person. So I often am like, do the lyrics reflect something in my own life or speak to something to me? So explicitly being told that Father Figure was a creative writing challenge, I was just like, okay, I don't know. It's not going to be on repeat. Let's just say that. Now, I did not expect at all the commentary that has gone down has blown my absolute mind just from things that I have seen. And I'm not a deeply online person, but my algorithm knows because of Swiftologists that I do like Taylor Swift, and I have been getting some crazy YouTube videos. So when Tortured Poets came out, which was not that long ago, right? It came out in April of 2024, like a year and a half ago. And I remember when it came out, the conservative side of the internet went crazy accusing her of being a witch, or talking about witchcraft, that she's demonic, that she's promoting witchcraft and demons, and that Ben Shapiro went off and Candace Owens about her promoting being a single childless woman in her mid-30s and encouraging other women to follow that sort of depraved path and thinking it's cool to put their career first. I remember all of this. I listened to an entire podcast by this popular Christian YouTuber who was, and clearly it was rage bait, and it worked because I watched it, but she was going on about how Christians should keep their daughters and their other like lady friends from listening to Taylor Swift because she clearly promotes demonic forces and probably has demonic forces inside her and witchcraft and all of this stuff. You just kind of laugh and you go, well, that sucks for you because it's a great album. But I was so surprised. I thought it would be something similar where the right wing, more conservative YouTubers, or I should say more conservative commentators, would be aghast at the amount of sexual content there was, something like Wood and some other ones where she talks about, getting down with her man and being in love and whatever, and just clearly owning her sexuality and the sexuality with her now fiance in a more explicit way than she's ever done before. I thought for sure people would be freaking out about that. What has surprised me is that it's not the right-wing conservative side. It's kind of other Swifties and people that are explicitly liberal, I'll say. Like there are people that are saying that wish list, especially, and I get it. Listen, I get that wish list is kind of a problematic song. It's catchy. It's something. I have not heard it since the movie. I don't go out of my way to listen to that one, but it gets stuck in my head. There's something about it where it's like, da, 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 like it's just in my head. But I agree that there are some elements of it that are problematic, like acting like she doesn't care for wealth or material things. Like, okay, Taylor, no one becomes a self-made billionaire by accident. It's impossible. In fact, you have to work for it and want it more than anything else in the world. So to act like you're above wealth or that you don't care for these things is crazy. It's crazy. It's like, okay, give your wealth away then. Don't be a billionaire anymore. Oh, wait, that's not happening. So in that case, I totally understand. But what I did not anticipate was people saying that because she explicitly mentions wanting to settle down and have kids with Travis, again, her now fiance, that it is a dog whistle for MAGA conservatives and white eugenics. There's also, there's cries of racism. There's cries of, that because she made that anti-Charlie XCX song that she's, bad Taylor, that she's punching down. And then one of my favorite things is the Fate of Ophelia song. The amount of people, well, here's the thing. There is a pretty popular socialist YouTuber who I just forgot his name. I'm not trying to like censor it or anything, but he now has like kind of a viral video about the Taylor Swift album, where, first of all, he does not like Taylor Swift, first and foremost, because she's a billionaire. He does not listen to her music, and he did not listen to her music. He just read the lyrics and did that thing where you read the lyrics and then make fun of it, which I think is kind of unfair when it comes to a song, because a lot of times lyrics are chosen because of how it works sonically and how that works along with the other like instrumentation and the beat, and whether you stretch or shorten a word and how you sing it and the emotion behind it can totally change than how it is like presented if you just read the words monotone. So I don't care for that sort of mildly disingenuous presentation. And he said something that I've then seen repeated in so many other comment sections under other videos, where he said, well, one, people acting like she's never read Hamlet. She must not know anything about Hamlet because Ophelia isn't saved by a man. Ophelia is doomed to her fate because of a man. People act like that's the biggest diss in the world. And then that statement has just been, I don't know if it's bots or what it is, but I see it everywhere now. And I guess what it really had me thinking about, and kind of along the same lines of New Romantics and her beef with Charlie XCX, or even potentially starting a beef or punching down, is I think it says a lot about what people are expecting from music, or at least expecting from art, or how they want to interact with art. And I think some people want it to reflect morality, or a certain type of morality, or at least what they believe is moral. And then some people want it to reflect honesty. And honesty does not mean truth. Honesty does not mean factually correct. It just means it comes from an honest place from the artist. And I think some people really, really don't like that, because that often can conflict with the idea that it should be moral. Therefore, it shouldn't be how you feel. It should reflect how you should feel. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let's start there. There's nothing wrong with, if you're on the morality side, like that's how you want to consume art. There is so many religious radio stations, right? And Christian bands and Christian singers and Christian movies and entertainment, because some people want or need their art to reflect this certain type of morality that's really important to them. And I'm not trying to pick on Christians or religious people. I had a friend who was really into spirituality, right? She was a Reiki healer. That was her full-time job. And one time we were throwing a Halloween party together. So we were figuring out music for this party. And I was trying to add a Chappell Roan song called Karma is My Kink, or My Kink is Karma. It's just incredibly boppy, high energy, super fun. And it's about kind of a revenge song where you have a bad breakup and then you find out your ex is doing horrible and karma is your kink. You're like, that's awesome. I love that. Actually, very much in lines with New Romantic, but just kind of with an ambiguous ex rather than a specific person, but just kind of like, I love how bad you're doing. And she fought me tooth and nail about including this song on the playlist. She felt like music held a vibration, and the vibration of the song is inherently negative. And therefore, if it's played for everyone at the party, it's going to lower people's vibration and bring about bad energy, bad vibes, bad thoughts, and lead to negative outcome and negative consequences. Where to me, I just find it to be an incredibly honest experience, because I've been there, where you go through a bad breakup and you're a little vengeful, you're a little vindictive, you find joy in someone else's suffering. Not forever. You want to get to a point of growth where you just forget about that person, because actively hating someone actually takes more energy than just forgetting about their existence. But it speaks to that honest moment in time. And she felt very passionate about her perspective. And I think religious people, and I would say that she's a deeply religious person, even though she would have said that she's outside of religion, outside of religious thought. I would consider her a deeply religious person. I think a lot of deeply religious people feel like they need their art to reflect their morality, because if they don't have that sort of rigid structure in place, then, well, maybe bad things would happen. Maybe their God would smite them. Maybe they would start to have sinful thoughts or sinful desires. I'm trying to say that not one side is incorrect, but I definitely feel that if you're on the morality train, that you want artists to censor themselves, because if they're honest about how they feel and therefore express the different colors and the different facets of the human experience that aren't always super positive or healthy, that can lead to other people being negative and unhealthy. It's not as if that's an entirely crazy thing to think, right? If you're a recovering alcoholic, is it healthy for you to listen to songs that constantly talk about drinking and getting fucked up and partying at the bars? Potentially not, because it might make you think about these things, crave these things. They have a positive association with these things. So it's not as if being like, hey, I'm going to be careful with the things I consume is crazy. It's not crazy. But that being said, just because I think some people have to be careful with the things they consume doesn't mean that the artist has to be careful about what they create. I think artists, and I say this as an artist, both a visual artist and a writer, that we need to be able to create whatever we want. So the thing with the fate of Ophelia, with Taylor Swift's song and people losing their minds and saying, it's so inaccurate, you're not supposed to be saved by a man. Ophelia wasn't saved by a man. She drowned because of a man. I think Taylor Swift knows Hamlet. I think she knows exactly why Ophelia drowned, and it was the love and the obsession and then the gaslighting and the dismissal of a man that led to that sort of madness and tragedy. And I think for Taylor Swift, she is being honest and saying, yes, but also a man did save me. I think she very much feels that way. I don't think it's that surprising given her discography. A lot of it is about her obsession with romantic love and how important it is to her. We're supposed to not feel that way. We're supposed to distance ourselves and say, hey, take romance and take love off a pedestal. You need to put yourself first. But I think for Taylor, she's like, nope, it's always been like one of the most important things in my life, always has and always will be. And I think she's being honest by saying that she felt like Ophelia and a genuine romantic love with this man saved her. I think that's actually how she feels. Same with the Charlie XCX thing where people are like, you're not supposed to feel that way. You shouldn't be punching down, which also, how rude and how like sad would it be if you're Charlie XCX and people are quote unquote trying to defend you, and they do so by saying don't punch down, inherently implying that Charlie is like less than Taylor Swift. It is such a tough position to be in. But also, I think Taylor is being honest. I think she is annoyed by Charlie, especially, let's not get it twisted, this is a woman that's obsessed with romance and just went through like one of the worst, most devastating heartbreaks of her life. And Charlie's out here high-fiving Maddie Healy and saying, good for you for ghosting her. I think that above everything else bothered Taylor, and Taylor, did fight back, did punch back. Should she have? Probably not. Is it nice? Certainly not. Is it honest? Is it how she honestly feels? I think so. So that's all to say that I'm very shocked that these very self-proclaimed liberal channels and liberal creators that are young, like a young millennial or Zoomer is saying, very pearl clutchy, being like, oh my gosh, how dare you express yourself in that way? You're not representing Ophelia perfectly or the way that I want you to express it. How dare you say some not nice things about this other multimillionaire? How dare you? How dare you talk about wanting to have children with your fiance? Eugenics. And I think also part of it is that Taylor has just become synonymous with culture and pop culture, that everyone has opinion about her. And I think the fact that she is having all these incredible things happen to her, right? Falling in love with a football player, getting engaged, this world tour, breaking a ton of records. I think a lot of people, frankly, are just jealous and want to see her fail and are looking for reasons that she should fail, not just because of her music, but like morally. There's something morally wrong with this woman. I see it too with Wood. Wood is a fun song. It's cheeky, but it's just as cheeky as like Tears by Sabrina Carpenter or Juno by Sabrina Carpenter. Or what's that one by Chappell Roan where she talks about getting with a woman and she makes allusions like, I'll show you a magic trick. Do you have a wand and a rabbit? Like she's talking about getting down and going down on a woman. Like it's just as sexual, but in like a wink wink kind of corny way. And yet people are simultaneously talking about what a bad person she is, but also how gross and outlandish she is for having these lyrics, as if Tate McRae and Sabrina Carpenter and Chappell Roan don't also have extremely explicit lyrics and imagery, which also, why are young people, especially those that are self-proclaimed like progressives, pearl clutching, being like, oh my gosh, she's talking about getting dicked down by her fiance and someone she's madly in love with. How dare she? Like, what? You can not like the song. You can just not like it. That's fine. But it's not a sign of something morally wrong with her or even her being gross. It's not that gross. Like, do you listen to rap? Have you ever listened to hip hop? Like, that's way more explicit. And yet people aren't freaking out about Cardi B lyrics. People aren't losing their mind out of like Megan Thee Stallion lyrics, or anything else that's like actually kind of nasty. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Sometimes you want things to be nasty. An artist should be able to put out whatever an artist wants to put out. But Taylor Swift making a few allusions to Travis Kelce's dick is, people are just acting like it's crazy, especially for people that make it known that they are highly progressive, right? It's bizarre to me that they're taking this stance because I think if more conservative media took this stance more immediately and more loudly, they would be like, hey, she's a woman and she's allowed to say whatever she wants, right? It feels disingenuous, and I think people are mad that she's super successful. Now, you know what? She is a billionaire, which I'm skeptical on if it's possible to be an ethical billionaire. I'm right on that train with people. I think hyperconsumerism is bad for a variety of reasons, environmentally being the top one. But, she's not asking people to buy her crypto, right? At least she's actually putting out art and putting out music and putting out albums and like going on tours for music. She's not having people join an MLM or scams. So anyway, I feel like I've talked enough about Taylor Swift and probably enough for today's podcast. But thank you so much for listening to me, guys. And yeah, I hope to talk to you soon. Let me know how you feel about this episode. Bye.